What's going on, guys? And I forgot to do this. Now you can see me. What's going on, guys? Welcome to Own the Chaos. My name is Brad Smith, and we talk about everything OTC stocks. And so if you've been following my channel, you know it's been a little bit slow here. So we've been talking about a couple different things. But one thing that came to my attention yesterday in particular, I'm not going to name any names because that's not fair. Everybody's made this mistake. But is how to diversify and making sure that you don't blow up your account as soon as you get started. So if you are new to my channel, welcome. As always, when I go live, I always like to answer any questions that you guys might have. So check those out here. You feel free to shout those out. No reason to be shy. I'd be happy to answer those questions, no matter how simple it may seem. And I'm going to go ahead and welcome some folks here. Julie, Eric, Gabe, Wintruder, I think that's your name. So welcome, Ruben. Ruben, I think that's a new one. I haven't seen that in a while, if I have seen it before. So welcome. Appreciate you being here. So one big proponent that we talk about in trading the OTC is that, you know, it's kind of an old school way. It's not as sexy. It's not as fun. It's not as exciting, but it's ever important when it comes to trading, especially in the OTC. If you're looking to take more than one position, you know, the thing is that you could do everything right. Everything right when you're looking to, you know, trade some sort of over-the-counter stock. If you see the value in it, all of your boxes are checked, and then you make the purchase, and then it tanks. It happens. You know, if you follow the steps that we have in order, most of the time you're going to get it right. And I'll be the first one to tell you that I don't always get it right. And if there's anybody that out there that tells you they do, they're wrong, and you should not be following them. So we all make mistakes. I've made them. I continue to make them and continue to learn. And so, you know, just trying to get you to understand that even though you could do all those right steps, you could still get it wrong. And so that's why it's important to have multiple positions in your account and to diversify. And I think some people have a problem understanding how to do that. You know, how do I split up my account? Let's say you only got $1,000. How do you plan on splitting that up? What's the best way to diversify that? And for me, I think there's always been like this nice rule of thumb, you know, when it comes to diversifying, and that's the 20% rule. You diversify 20% or no more than 20% of your account. And I think that's also, in my opinion, depending on how much you have in your account. If you have $1,000, I think taking $200 positions, so 5 positions in all, is a reasonable, you know, diversified portfolio. If you have $10,000, I probably would diversify that even more into 10 different positions. So that would be a 10%, you know, and it goes up and up and up. Because let's say you have $100,000 in your account. Are you really comfortable risking 20 grand? I mean, that depends on your risk tolerance, obviously, right? But I think, in my opinion, I would feel much more comfortable if I had a $100,000 account to diversify it in $10,000 positions. Or if I had a $50,000 account, diversify that into maybe, I don't know, even smaller positions than that. Look, you can make a shit ton of money. Sorry about that. A ton of money on even just a $2,000 position. So if you got 50 grand in your account and you're just taking $2,000 positions here and there, and one of those $2,000 positions like is a 10 bagger or goes up 1,000%, as we call it, that's 20 grand. So, you know, it's just one of those things where you want to make sure that you're diversifying and diversifying smartly. We had a couple situations where people with, you know, have taken basically half of their account and dumped it into something. Granted, probably wasn't the best amount of due diligence done on it either. However, it doesn't matter. The rule applies still, is that you got to be able to make sure that you're not putting all those eggs in one basket. And I understand. I've been there. I've blown my account up when I was, you know, just starting out, because it was like, oh, I'm going to throw all my money in here so I can make the maximum profit ever. But you never actually think about what happens when that goes wrong. All you're focused on is seeing like all this green that you can make, and then not understanding that there's potential for it to go the other way, and then you're stuck. You're stuck in that position forever, or you're selling for a loss. One of those two things. Whereas if you had just taken a smaller position, yeah, the potential for your gain would have been a little bit smaller, but at least you would be walking away with a little bit of green, or if it happened to go the other way, it would be a little bit of red instead of a lot of red. You know, you always want to make your losses small. And one way to combat that, one way to minimize that risk is taking smaller positions, especially when you're starting out. You know, if you've got a $100,000 account and you want to blow 10 grand, 10% for me would be a lot of money. But it's still, you know, that's your decision. It's still better than doing $50,000 position, right? And I know this is common sense, but I think sometimes it's important to do a little bit of a refresher for a lot of you folks, because we've seen some pretty great growth within our platform and our community, which is We Trade HQ. And if you're not familiar with that, if you haven't been a part of that, there's links in the description that I encourage you to check out. We have a great community of folks who are just starting out, never traded a day in their life, and then people who've been trading for 25 years plus. So what I'm trying to say is that there's a great diversified field of traders, and the veterans that we have are more than willing and happy to help those who aren't as seasoned as they are. And it's a great community. So anyway, that's kind of like what we've been trying to help people along with, and helping them understand what diversification actually means, and making sure that you're cutting those losses short, or making sure that you're taking those gains when you have them, especially when you're starting out. It's so important to not just hold on and wait for the big home run. Take a couple of base hits along the way, and then if you get lucky on if something ends up running based off of the work that we've all done, then that's great. But especially in the summertime, right now it's real slow. It's not going to really start picking up until we get closer to Labor Day. And it's rare that you have people that really wish the summer away, but for most of us traders, it's kind of one of those things where it's like bittersweet. We love being the warm weather, we love being outside and hanging out and whatever else, but it's like, man, trading's rough. But especially when times are tough and there's not a whole lot of volume out there, it's especially important for you to be extra careful when first starting out trading. Just a word of advice is all it is, and I'm not saying that it's a surefire thing. Obviously, I've said there's certain scenarios that might work out better than others. So it all depends on, the size of your account and how much you're actually willing to risk. I've always go back to that, and it's all about risk tolerance. If you're not comfortable with something, then don't do it. If you're not comfortable making a trade, don't do it. If you're not comfortable with taking a $500 position on something because that's half of your account, then don't do it. Some of it's common sense, and we can get so blinded by that, that big green number, or and what it could turn into, that we fail to realize what the risk is involved in that. And so it's important to be disciplined and really get yourself in that mindset. And people have good things and bad things to say about paper trading, but I do believe that paper trading is a great tool to at least start out. If you've never traded a day in your life, I think paper trading is a good eye-opening experience for those of you who have never traded before, because you get to see, okay, wow, if I had risked $1,000 of my own money and that was all I had, and it went down 25 or 30 or even 50%, it's one of those things where it's like, well, damn, I'm glad I didn't do that. On the flip side of that, there's a certain point where the trading wheel's got to come off, because you're not going to learn much with trading with fake money. You'll learn a ton more trading with your own stake in the game, but at least paper trading gets you in the door. It kind of puts those training wheels on, right? So, and that's a great analogy. If you're a kid, growing up, you had training wheels, and you were never going to actually learn how to ride a bike until you just took those things off. And how many times did we still wreck after taking those training wheels off? I would find it hard to believe that the majority of you stayed upright on a bicycle after those training wheels come off. So, but you learned it, you stuck with it, and eventually, you were up and running and ready to go. And that's kind of like how I view paper trading. No, it's not going to make you an incredible trader right out of the gate as soon as you're done paper trading, but it certainly, puts you into the, it gets you into the game at least, and kind of like a feel for what's going on, especially if you've never traded before. So, and it's just going to be a short video. I didn't want to go on and on and on about it, but that's basically it. There's nothing else to really kind of go over. I just every once in a while when we get to a certain point, especially when we see a bunch of growth, there's all these new folks, and I think sometimes it's hard to find, older videos or whatever, or if you haven't been in a position to where you're comfortable purchasing my course or anything like that. I understand that sometimes it's hard to kind of wrap your head around. So I think sometimes these little videos are important. So with that, I'm just going to go ahead and check to see if there's any questions. Let's see here. I'm going to pull this up. Oh yeah, Ruben, you did say you're new. Okay. I'd like to know the process of the DD you do. Is there a video and archive I should watch? Yes. So there's plenty of videos that I have out there regarding that, and then I also have my my course. If you guys aren't familiar with my course, it is linked in the description as well. Highly encourage you to check that out if you're looking to step up your game and understand my DD process. It's nice, neat, and organized. You can go back into the YouTube archives. I have well over 100 plus videos, and you can go through the hundreds of hours. I have thousands of hours of content that I have, and try to put all that together. But the course is nice and neat and organized, and it's easy to follow, and you can check it all out there. Plus, all the updates are free. So if you purchase that course and I make any updates to it, like if I get feedback, people want this added to it or whatever, all that's free as well. So those are my 2 suggestions for you. Thanks for posting videos, Colin. No problem, buddy. 10%. You'll be out of the game too fast if you bet the farm. Exactly. And 10%, if that's what you're comfortable with, then that's perfectly fine. Like find what's comfortable for you. Find the risk tolerance that you're willing to deal with. So yeah. At any one time, Brad, how many OTC positions would you generally be sitting in? Granted, you often have a long-term view on stocks, but getting insight. So yeah, it varies. In the summertime, it shortens up a lot, especially because it is slow. So my list goes down to probably, I don't have like a certain number that I have to have in my account as far as number of positions go. But, when it's busy, there's a lot of volatility and volume going on in the market. Excuse me. Good Lord. I usually have anywhere between 10 and 15 positions at any one time. Usually when it's slow like this, I have like 5 or so, 5 to 10, like eight, somewhere around there. I think right now I'm in 8 positions. So it all depends, on what's going on in the market and like how busy it is and where you see value where. And I think it's important when I'm diversifying and I'm buying certain positions and the other thing is that it allows me when I'm splitting up my account, it allows me to get into more than one thing at a time, so that even if I've got 4 big winners, I'm in all of them. So you're not wasting your time on just one position and making one big win. I've got multiple positions that I'm making multiple wins on, and so that's when you see, like, go back in my video, my channels, or my channel on my videos. You'll see those. 1,000 plus or 5,000 plus or all the way up to $20,000 wins that I've had because my accounts are diversified. And if you pay attention, a lot of those positions are only like $1,000 to $3,000 positions. They're not very large, and I'm seeing that kind of success and those kind of gains out of positions that aren't that big. Do I need a wrench to take off my training wheels? I don't know how to answer that question. I think one of my big problems is when you start is know when to cut losses and try to hold until you dry your account. Bad habit. That is a bad habit. So always have a plan going into that. So if you're like not comfortable with anything more than a 10% loss, then you shouldn't let that stock go down any further than 10%. Cut your losses, make your stop losses small, and don't actually use a stop loss. That's a big no-no in the OTC. Market makers can sniff that out, trip those stop losses, and then you're guaranteed that loss. So have a mental stop loss. Go into it with a plan. You can set alerts on your phone, or if you're working in a day job and you're trying to trade, whatever. There's other ways around having an actual mental stop loss than just setting a stop loss for yourself, through your broker exchange. Saw you back and forth about liquidity. Can you explain a little bit, please? So yeah, liquidity means, volume. So if there's a lot of share volume in a stock, the share structure is relatively, I want to say over about 100 million shares or so, and there's a lot of activity going on. That means it's liquid. It means it's moving up and down, and it's liquid. Like if you were had a glass of water, okay, and you just shook it around, then that's moving around like that. That would be liquid, right? But if you have that glass of water and it's just sitting there and it's sitting still and nothing's moving it, then that would be considered illiquid. And it's the same thing with stocks. If nobody's paying attention to the stock and nobody cares, then it's not going to move. That glass of water is not moving, and the water in the glass will not move. But if there's a stock that has a relatively decent share structure and there's a lot of eyes and attention on it, and the slightest bit of news will move it, then that's a liquid stock. People are shaking that. People are noticing, and they're shaking it. And sometimes it can be an unfortunate thing, because there are quality stocks and quality companies out there that are doing good things, but there's not enough people on there to do it. That's why you have a lot of these companies that are promoted stocks, that they pay somebody to get their name out there so that people can actually see what it is that they're doing. Oftentimes, it ends up being that they pay for these promoters, and it turns out that the stock is garbage. But the unfortunate thing is that there are quality companies out there that are doing great things. But if you don't have people to buy it, then there's nobody to sell it to either. So that's the danger of an illiquid stock, is that if you buy into something, and there's nobody there to buy your shares when you're ready to sell, then you're stuck. So you're stuck into that position, and somebody could whack the heck out of it, especially if the spread is super big, and before you know it, 50% of that position's gone. So that's why illiquid stocks, for me personally, are dangerous. Now, I know that people that are out there that find success in that, maybe they have a lot more patience with it. They're willing to stick it out and make a few $100s, no matter how long it takes. But for me, I just like the ease and and how convenient it is to just, and honestly, the safety for me. It's like, I want to be able to get in when I want and out when I want, because if this thing goes south, I'm out. Because if you're in a liquid stock and it's things go south, it's going to be real hard for you to get out. You're going to have to either weather the storm or just cut your losses or whatever, no matter what that loss might be. So it can be dangerous. If you're trading in a liquid stock, a little bit more dangerous than otherwise. Probably just save hey, I hope so, man. Wolfex says probably just saved a dozen accounts. I mean, that's what it's all about. That's the whole purpose of this channel and whole purpose of We Trade HQ, the community that we have. And yeah, Dave, that's a good point, Dave. Illiquid stocks are hard to get out of. Exactly. But yeah, anyway, to that comment, and Josh, I love that too. Yes, you need a wrench. It's called mentorship. Yeah. So if you're not familiar with that, guys, and you're new to my channel and you want to get a leg up, there's several mentorships we have out there, and I have my over-the-counter stock course. It's a mastery course where you can go in and learn all this stuff that I'm going over with you. And like I said, it's in a nice, neat little package. It's very affordable. For a lot of people, it's already paid for itself. And that was the whole goal. It wasn't to gouge anybody, but actually pay for itself in trades. And so a lot of people have learned from mistakes that they would have made if they hadn't have gone through that course. Good grief, that's a big truck. Sorry if you guys can hear that. That's crazy. Yeah, and so then there's also mentorships. You can back that up. So if you buy my course, you get 90 days of a free mentorship, which is valued at $150, and you go live with me from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., and we can just look at the stock market. I have all my scanners set up. You guys can look at that, and we just go over where we find value and stocks that maybe I would stay away from, stocks that maybe I would consider seeing value in and taking position on. A lot of people have seen me do that already, and it's great. It's a nice learning tool, and it's my way to be able to kind of like share with you guys on what it is that I'm seeing and all of that. So I encourage you to check that out. It's at WeTradeHQ.com. The links are in the description. Highly encourage you to check those out. And if you're new to this channel and if you learned something, push that subscribe button and then also smash the like button. I would certainly appreciate the support so that we can keep doing this and changing lives for the better. And that is all I've got for you guys tonight. With that, as always, I will see you all before the bell, and B. Smith is out. Have a good one, guys.